Super God Gene. Chapter 66. Shinzon asked Hansen to give Blackhawk more thoughts, as he would benefit a lot from such experience. Hansen left Shinzon's office thinking to himself, Shinzon is really kind, but how can I leave Mother and Yan now? Before I turn 20 when I have to serve, I need to constantly go home and take care of them. In the meantime, I must earn enough money so that when I'm off to the army, they could live a good life without care. After he got home, Hansen contacted Lin Baifeng and asked him to send the Z-Steel arrows over. He wanted to go to Dark Swamp as soon as tomorrow. After all, improving his own physique was his priority. Young Manly was right about the fact that the beast souls he owned now would make him a great archer. And right now, what he lacked most was a good beast soul arrow. Sen, I have 10 sniper arrows with 5% Z-Steel. Please take them. Lin Baifeng put a box of 10 sniper arrows in front of Hansen. I'll take 2 and I'll give them back to you if I'm able to retrieve them, Hansen said. Take them all. You can give me a bigger share of mutant creature meat in return. It would be even better if there is sacred blood meat, Lin Baifeng smiled and said. Don't be greedy. All I can spare is probably 1 mutant creature. You can take the rest of the arrows back. Hansen took out 2 arrows and pushed the rest back in front of Lin Baifeng. Sen, just take them all. You can give them back after. These arrows are nothing to me. Don't you know what business my family does? Lin Baifeng insisted, offering Hansen the arrows again. Your family owns Z-Steel mines. Hansen looked at Lin Baifeng, surprised. Lin Baifeng shook his head. We do not have Z-Steel mines, but we do have some collaboration with groups that produce Z-Steel alloy. We have a mine of a rare mineral, which is a must to increase the percentage of Z-Steel to 7 or above. This mineral is very expensive and those groups are always in demand of it, so they sell me Z-Steel weapons at production cost. These didn't cost me much, and feel free to let me know if you need anything in the future. You rock. Hansen gave Lin a thumbs up. Lin Baifeng shook his head and said, in fact, Z-Steel alloy is great for large-scale military use, but too heavy for individuals. For example, Z-Steel armor has great defense but its weight affects one's speed and endurance. Compared with beast souls, it's not that practical. If future technology can raise the Z-Steel content to more than 50%, the weight can be reduced a lot. Sen, would you talk to your friends and let me join you? I could provide them with Z-Steel supplies, Lin Baifeng asked. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do, Hansen smiled at Lin Baifeng. In fact, you are so rich that you can set up your own team and march into the mountains. Mutant creatures would be easy to come by then. Lin Baifeng smiled wryly. I have tried, but it is not as easy in steel armor shelter as in my previous shelter. Shinzon's military force is stable and no one could challenge that. Those who can be bought with money are in Son of Heaven's gang already. Although I am rich, I don't dare to provoke a monster like Starry Group. The rest of talents are all controlled by Fist Guy. So, there is no talented freelancer at all. I basically have nowhere to spend my money. Hansen nodded. He also felt deeply about this. When he was isolated by both Son of Heaven and Shinzon, he almost had no way to survive in steel armor shelter. Hansen teleported into steel armor shelter and sneaked out in the middle of the night, so that Son of Heaven's gang wouldn't notice him. Carrying his supplies, Hansen picked up the paths less trodden and marched toward Dark Swamp. Others saw the swamp as hell, but it was paradise to Hansen who had the beast soul of Purple-Winged Dragon. Without any surprise or risk on the way, Hansen successfully entered Dark Swamp. He saw no one near the swamp, let alone in the swamp. Hansen took no risk and found a spot with absolutely nobody there before he summoned the Black Beetle and Purple-Winged Dragon Beast Soul. Wearing his purple wings and golden armor, Hansen checked his equipment again and flew toward Dark Swamp. The environment of Dark Swamp was similar to the poster's description. There were indeed very few flying creatures. Occasionally he saw a few carrion birds, for which he didn't even use arrows. If any bird dared to get close, he would cut them into 2 halves with the Shira katana. There were many poisonous beasts and insects in the swamp. Having flown less than a day, Hansen saw a mutant creature. It was a scary-looking 3-footed toad the size of a truck crouching in the mud, covered in lumps and exuding green gas. Hansen was not interested in it at all. Even if he killed this thing, it was too huge for him to carry its meat out. And it would take him months to finish eating the meat, which was not worth it for a few mutant geno points. This is indeed a paradise. After flying for more than 2 hours, Hansen saw another mutant creature. Surrounded by a group of black and white snakes, a blood-red snake king was swimming in the reeds. Han Sen did not approach it but hovered in the air, flapping his enormous wings. The snakes did not notice his presence at all. Pulling out a sniper arrow from the quiver, Han Sen put a thread into the hole on the knocked the arrow and aimed at the foot-long Snake King. Suddenly, Han Sen narrowed his eyes and the sniper arrow flew across like a lightning bolt. The blood-red Snake King was just opening its mouth, about to swallow a mouse-like creature. Just when it opened its mouth, a black shadow disappeared there and went into its stomach, piercing its belly. The Snake King suddenly twisted its body in agony, hissing desperately. The black and white snakes surrounding it all went crazy, but could not find where the enemy was. The Snake King bleeded heavily through its pierced belly and stopped struggling after a while. Mutant Ghost-Toothed Snake King killed. No beast soul gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 mutant geno points randomly. The wonderful voice sounded in Han Sen's mind. He excitedly pulled the thread and dragged the body of the Ghost-Toothed Snake King up in the air. That thread was not much thicker than a hair, but as a high-tech product, it was very strong and could bear more than a ton. This Ghost-Toothed Snake King weighed just dozens of pounds and he easily pulled it up. Super God Gene, Chapter 67, Han Sen found a safe spot, picked up some branches and made a fire. Boiling a pot of water, he threw some pieces of Snake King meat into the water and cooked slowly. The snake was not too big. After thoroughly boiled, there were only about 2 bowls of soup left. Han Sen poured them out from the pot and gobbled the meat up. Ghost-Toothed Snake King meat eaten. 1 mutant geno point gained. After drinking the soup, Han Sen got another mutant geno point. Han Sen dried the rest of the snake meat and made it into meat jerkies to bring along with him. Although the snake wasn't too large, he couldn't finish it at once, so it became his field rations. Meow. Meowth was gnawing at a piece of snake meat jerkies, which wasn't quite enough for the cat, as the cat meowed at Han Sen again after finishing it, rubbing its fluffy body against him. Han Sen took Meowth back. Its insatiable appetite would make it gorge on an entire snake. Continuing to fly inside the swamp, looking at the various poisonous beasts and insects below, Han Sen felt more and more excited. The place was full of treasures. It was usually easy to find mutant creatures where human could not reach. Han Sen had seen 3 mutant creatures in 2 days. Aside from the Snake King, the other 2 creatures were both too large so he didn't hunt them. Except for the necessary rest time, Han Sen kept traveling. His destination was the forest where mutant black stingers lived. Another 2 days had passed and Han Sen didn't have good luck. All he saw was a mutant creature that looked like a crocodile, but that guy was more than 10 yards long and very strong. Han Sen didn't bother and flew past it. On the 5th day since Han Sen entered Dark Swamp, he finally got lucky. In a not-so-large lake, the water was so clear that the bottom of the lake can be seen in the sun. The lake was only about 3 to 6 feet deep. In the lake, Han Sen saw groups of big silver fish, each about a foot long, with a jagged dorsal fin stretching from head to tail. And among the groups of silver fish, there were occasionally 1 or 2 golden fish of the same size, flashing their golden scales in the sun. Han Sen was so excited that he almost jumped up. There were 7 or 8 golden fish in the lake and they were all mutant creatures. Ha ha, Dark Swamp is truly my paradise. Han Sen took Doomsday off his back, knocked a sniper arrow, and shot it at a golden fish in the water. The sniper arrow was shot into the water on the back of the golden fish. With a clank, the arrow slipped aside, leaving only a white mark on the golden scale, which wasn't even pierced. Han Sen quickly pulled the sniper arrow back with the thread he attached to it. The golden fish that was under attack madly scurried in the lake. Failing to find the enemy, it knocked several silver fish dead. The jagged dorsal fin on its back was so sharp that it could probably cut steel. Han Sen frowned as he didn't expect that even arrows with 5% Z steel couldn't pierce the scales of the golden fish. Considering the size of the golden fish, Han Sen could certainly eat an entire fish per day. With so many fish here, it was the perfect opportunity to increase his mutant geno points. I need a good arrow, a beast soul arrow. Han Sen was upset. If he had a beast soul arrow now, he could shoot all these golden fish dead in a short while. Han Sen hovered above the lake and carefully observed these golden fish. After a while, his eyes lit up. He flew away to cut off a long branch and stirred it in the water. The alarmed silver and golden fish started to swim in all directions swiftly. Han Sen was thrilled. Because their dorsal fin was too stiff, these fish could hardly bend their bodies. Therefore, although their speed was high, they could hardly change their directions or jump. Han Sen was thrilled as he could now approach the lake and didn't need to worry about being attacked by the fish. Z steel arrows could not hurt the fish, but he had a katana that was sharper than Z steel arrows. If he was close enough to a fish, he could probably kill it with the katana. The katana was, after all, 4 feet long and considered a short weapon. Hence Han Sen cut off a 6 feet long branch as thick as his arm and fixed the Shira katana to one end of the branch, making a long spear. Han Sen hovered closely to the surface of the lake and observed for a long time. When a golden fish swam up to the surface, Han Sen swiftly poked the katana down like how a fisherman would spear a fish. The katana cut through the scales of the golden fish into its body. Han Sen was overjoyed. He pulled the katana back and flew back up in the sky. After all, the katana was fixed on a branch. If he continued to fight with the golden fish, the brittle branch might break and he didn't want the katana to fall into the lake. The injured golden fish scurried madly in the water, hurting numerous silver fish in its way. Soon, it lost its strength and floated to the surface upside down. Mutant sawfish killed. No beast soul gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 mutant geno points randomly. Han Sen took out the dead fish and was so happy that he almost moaned out loud. He decided to strike while the iron is hot and used the same method to hunt 3 more mutant sawfish before the sun went down. Haha, 4 mutant creatures in one day. This is my blessed land. Han Sen found a safe place by the lake and cut off all the meat from the mutant sawfish. He cooked some and used salt to preserve the rest. Mutant sawfish meat eaten. 1 mutant geno point gained. Mutant sawfish meat eaten. 1 mutant geno point gained. Delicious fish in his mouth and wonderful news in his ear, Han Sen felt over the moon. Super God Gene. Chapter 68. Meow. Meowth was circling around the fire rapidly. In the fire, there were pieces of jelly-like sawfish meat. When heated up, the oil oozed from the fish, sizzling with a strong and fresh fragrance, making one's mouth water even from afar. Han Sen threw a large piece of cooked sawfish to Meowth and took one for himself. The fatty fish almost melted in his mouth, making him want to swallow his tongue. Sawfish, as a mutant creature, had way more tasty meat than ordinary fish. Even fish-like groupers were a far cry from it. Even just barbecued plainly with just some salt and pepper, the sawfish didn't have a fishy smell at all, it was purely sweet and delicious. If this could be brought outside God's sanctuary, it would probably become the king of all fish. The ordinary dish wouldn't even have any market. 1 mutant sawfish could probably be sold at tens of millions. Such a shame. Han Sen threw another piece of sawfish at Meowth. Mutant creatures could not be brought away from God's sanctuary. Also, he didn't have the energy to take all the sawfish he had hunted out of Dark Swamp. There were more sawfish in the lake than he had imagined. He had killed 15 these days. After eating several, his mutant geno points could no longer increase from eating sawfish. Since he couldn't bring it all out, he decided to feed it to Meowth. My mutant geno points are 31 now. Such a fruitful trip. Dark Swamp is too dangerous for ordinary people, so there live so many mutant creatures. Probably I could even max out on my mutant geno points on this trip. Han Sen was in a great mood and rewarded Meowth another piece of fish. The rest of the sawfish meat was made into jerkies by Han Sen. Before he left, he took another look inside the lake, to check if there was any fish that he had missed. Seeing another mutant golden sawfish, Han Sen killed it in the same way. Mutant sawfish killed. Beast soul of mutant sawfish gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 mutant geno points randomly. It took Han Sen several seconds before he realized what had happened. He almost jumped up. It had been a long time since he had gained any beast soul and he suddenly gained one now. A mutant one. Han Sen could not wait to see which type the sawfish beast soul was. If it was an arrow, he would be so satisfied. Type of mutant sawfish beast soul, spear. Han Sen was slightly disappointed, but overall excited. Although it was not a beast soul arrow, spear was still a popular type of weapon, especially a mutant beast soul spear. Summoning the mutant sawfish beast soul, Han Sen suddenly had a gold spear in his hands. The spearhead was an inch long with sharpened cutting edge on both sides. The spear was frightening even by its look. Han Sen wielded the spear and felt that it was heavy but easy to use. The sharp spearhead had cut down a thick tree with just a casual slash, as if he were cutting tofu. Whoever pisses me off in the future will have to deal with this spear. Han Sen tried the spear for a while, and didn't put it away until he had sweat on his forehead. A mutant beast soul weapon had already made his trip to Dark Swamp a success. This spear was enough to make an ordinary household rich. After all, beast soul weapons did not need to be repaired and was easy to carry. Unless it was destroyed completely, it would recover on its own, unlike Z-steel weapons that needed fixing if chipped. Although he had gained a lot, Han Sen still hadn't reached his main goal, which was to gain a much-needed mutant beast soul arrow. So, he carried the rest of the jerkies and flew into the dark swamp again. The poster was only trying to escape and couldn't tell the directions. Hence it was difficult to find the forest he mentioned. Fortunately, Han Sen had the ability to fly, so he could see far from the sky. In the next 2 days, Han Sen was not so lucky. He did not encounter mutant creatures, but ran into swarms of poisonous insects several times. Watching countless insects moving under him like flood and leaving nothing alive behind them, Han Sen could not help but shuddered. If he couldn't fly and were attacked by these insects, it wouldn't even matter if he was fit or not. Swarms of ants could kill an elephant, let alone these poisonous insects. Even someone with max sacred geno points could hardly survive. Finally, Han Sen found some clean water. After replenishing his water supply, he made a pot of fish soup and added some snake king meat in it. It didn't take long before the fragrance spread everywhere. Han Sen wasn't afraid of attracting poisonous beasts as he had been wearing the black beetle armor since he entered Dark Swamp. When the soup was almost ready, Han Sen was preparing to enjoy it with Meowth. Suddenly he heard a bird call followed by a whistle. A huge black bird flied down from the sky, its wings a few dozen feet long and claws sharp as metal hooks. Hansen was shocked. Damn, didn't the poster say there were no advanced flying creatures in Dark Swamp? Judging from its look, this bird is at least a mutant creature. Hansen stepped back and saw the huge bird landing by the fire. When it stood on the ground, it was taller than an elephant head. Its gleaming dark bird eyes gave it a regal look. After the bird landed, a black-clad young man jumped down from the back of the bird and looked at the meat in the pot. "Boy, I'll buy your meat." He walked swaggeringly over and threw a piece of raw meat that looked like a cow leg on the ground and said, "It's your lucky day, kid. This is the thigh of a mutant poisonous clawed beast." Finishing the sentence, the black-clad young man reached for the fragrant fish and snake meat in the pot. "I won't trade with you," Han Sen frowned. The black-clad young man was fast and had already gobbled up a piece of fish. When he was about to ridicule Han Sen by pointing out the fact that he was offering Han Sen some mutant creature meat, he heard the voice telling him that he had gained 1 mutant geno point. His eyes suddenly widened. How could this be? It was just 1 piece of meat, and it added 1 mutant geno point. So, there must be an entire mutant creature in the pot. Super God Gene. Chapter 69. Lu Weinan was sick of eating the meat of poisonous clawed beast these days. Relying on his mutant iron-feathered bird beast soul, he flew into Dark Swamp to hunt mutant creatures and only killed this 1 poisonous clawed beast in days. This beast was larger than a cow, and he had been eating its meat for more than half a month and still had a thigh left. He had only gained 5 mutant geno points from it so far. Just now, he had gained 1 mutant geno point already by eating just a piece of meat from the pot. He suddenly understood why Han Sen didn't want to trade. Although both were mutant creatures, the thigh he had was worth much less than what was in Han Sen's pot. Lu Weinan looked at the pot of meat eagerly and then his eye fell on Han Sen. A knife in hand, he blew a whistle. The iron-feathered bird beat its wings and hovered over his head. "Do you want to trade, or let me beat you up before I eat your stuff?" Lu Weinan was ready to dine and dash. There was no one in Dark Swamp and no one would even know if he killed Han Sen. Since he had the iron-feathered bird mount, no one would be his match here. F***K off, Han Sen said quietly. "You asked for this." Humiliated, Lu Weinan yelled and hacked his knife at Han Sen. Although he had gained the beast soul of mutant iron-feathered bird, he apparently didn't have the same luck in beast soul weapons. His knife was one with 5% Z steel. Han Sen was wearing sacred blood armor, so he was not afraid of such weapon. He didn't even shapeshift into the bloody slayer, but just summoned his mutant sawfish spear and wielded it at Lu's knife. Crack! The sawfish spear cut the knife off as if it were made of tofu and continued to stab at Lu. **T, thought Lu Weinan. He twisted his feet like a snake and barely escaped Han Sen's attack. Without a pause, Lu Weinan quickly ran back with strange but smooth body positions. Han Sen missed several stabs in a row and Lu swiftly jumped on the back of his bird mount and rose in the air. "How dare you challenge me? I'll just kill you," said Lu Weinan triumphantly, taking his bow and arrow to shoot at Han Sen who was on the ground. Wings suddenly grew from Han Sen's back and he rose in the air higher and faster than the iron-feathered bird. Damn, Lu Weinan was dumbfounded. How could he know this guy could also fly and even had wings instead of a mount? Subconsciously, Lu Weinan ordered the iron-feathered bird to go higher. Even if what Han Sen had were mutant beast soul wings, he wouldn't be able to fly too fast or too high. The iron-feathered bird should be able to get rid of him. But soon Lu Weinan found himself completely wrong. His enemy could fly not only very high, but also very fast, catching up with him in the blink of an eye. Who was this monster? His wings couldn't be sacred blood, right? Lu Weinan almost burst into tears. He didn't expect his enemy to be so strong. With his wings and his golden armor and spear, Han Sen looked more like an angel than a human. Having caught up with Lu Weinan, Han Sen poked the spear at him. All Lu wanted to do was to knock his own head on a wall. Why on earth did he try to escape on the back of the iron-feathered bird? Now he couldn't even use his body positions. Sitting on the bird, he had nowhere to hide. If he moved around, he would fall. Whoosh! The spear was poked into Lu Weinan's butt, leaving a long wound. Lu's soft armor didn't stop the spearhead at all. Brother, calm down. This is just a misunderstanding. Lu Weinan shouted hurriedly. Han Sen ignored him and stabbed at him again, making a symmetrical wound on the other side of his butt. Blood started to ooze from the wounds. Big brother, uncle, I was wrong. Stop poking or I will die. I surrender, Lu Weinan screamed while begging for mercy. Han Sen ignored him and kept poking. Lu Weinan saw the horrifying and shining gold spear and cried, Big brother, please slow down. We are both men. It will do you no good if you kill me. You see I have a flying mount, which will be of some use to you if you need me to run some errands for you. Ouch! Lu Weinan was stabbed again and his face had turned pale. He was bleeding too much and he would die before long. He looked down at himself and saw he was wearing black all over. Lu reached into his clothes and ripped off his white underwear stained with blood. Waving his underwear in one hand, he cried, Big brother, don't poke. I surrender. We can have a discussion. Isn't it true that we have a policy in the alliance to offer good treatment to the captives? Han Sen was silent all the time. Lu Weinan thought Han Sen couldn't hear him because the wind was too loud in flying. That's why he thought of the universal way of surrender, to wave a white flag. Han Sen saw Lu Weinan waving his ripped underwear and almost laughed out loud. Fly back, he held his laughter back and ordered. Lu Weinan was suddenly overjoyed, and quickly ordered the mutant iron-feathered bird to go back where he met Han Sen. When they were back to the place where the fire was made, the pot of meat was still there. Lu Weinan fell to the ground and screamed as he pulled the wounds on his buttocks. So, tell me, how are you going to compensate me for my loss? Han Sen smiled and looked at Lu Weinan who was covering his ass with both hands. Lu Weinan's face suddenly went stiff. Big brother, I'll give you whatever you want, except for this iron-feathered bird. You can take your pick. He summoned several beast souls and said bitterly, these are all I have. Please forgive me. Han Sen checked the 7 or 8 beast souls summoned by Lu Weinan and there was even a mutant beast soul. He knew Lu was definitely holding back. But since Lu had summoned a mutant beast soul, it meant that he would like to give away the mutant beast soul for his life. At the same time, he was using this beast soul to decline Han Sen's asking for the iron-feathered bird before Han Sen even asked. He was depending on the bird to survive here and wouldn't give it up for the world. That mutant beast soul, and you, before I leave Dark Swamp, you have to follow my command. Han Sen thought this kid could be of some use, also Han Sen didn't want him to wander alone. If Lu found the forest first and killed the mutant black stingers, Han Sen's ultimate purpose of this trip would be defeated. Super God Gene, Chapter 70. Lu Weinan agreed, but remained alert when he transferred the mutant beast soul to Han Sen, worried that Han Sen would kill him once having the beast soul. Fortunately, Han Sen did not attempt to kill him after receiving the mutant beast soul. He returned to the fire and used a cup to take out some soup. To Lu's surprise, Han Sen only took some soup and none of the meat. Although there would be some geno points in the soup, most geno points would remain in the meat. Why would Han Sen only drink the soup? While Lu Weinan was puzzled, he saw Han Sen had summoned a black cat, and put all the meat in the pot into a bowl in front of the cat. The black cat meowed and rushed to the bowl, starting to gobble. Lu Weinan's mouth twitched. He just realized that the meat he just tried to snatch and paid a huge price for turned out to be cat food. Where did this guy come from? Feeding mutant creature meat to a cat? What kind of people would do that? Lu Weinan now really wanted to bang his own head on the wall. He just risked his life fighting for cat food. Thinking of the cat, he was shocked. Among all the beast souls known to men, only a beast soul pet needed to be fed, while mounts and other types didn't. Han Sen's cat was of course not an ordinary animal. It must be a beast soul pet. Now not many could keep a beast soul pet. A beast soul pet didn't have any ability to fight in the beginning and had to be fed the meat of different creatures to grow. When it had grown to a certain stage, it would transform once, and after the transformation it would have fighting ability. But it took too much creature meat for a beast soul pet to grow until its transformation. There were people who tried to feed ordinary and primitive beast soul pets, but their fighting ability wasn't strong after the transformation. As for mutant beast soul pets, almost no one would try to feed them, as they would need a lot of mutant creature meat to transform, the amount of which was enough to make several individuals reach max mutant geno points. Who would feed that to a pet? Thinking of this, Lu Weinan thought Han Sen was an impressive person indeed. He thought to himself, this is someone who could afford feeding a mutant beast soul pet. He must be the successor to some powerful family to have received such attention and training. Big brother, what's your name? Lu Weinan asked with a smile, wanting to find out about Han Sen's background. You do not know me. Han Sen was somewhat surprised to hear the question. He felt odd as Lu Weinan didn't find out from his armor that he was Dollar. Even after seeing his wings, Lu still didn't recognize him, which meant Lu really didn't know about Dollar. We have seen each other before. Lu Weinan looked at Han Sen puzzled, misunderstanding Han Sen's reply. No. Han Sen continued to drink his soup. Lu Weinan suddenly understood that Han Sen was saying that he should have recognized Han Sen, which meant Han Sen was someone famous, which convinced Lu that Han Sen was from a prominent family, or else he wouldn't have made such an arrogant remark. Lu suddenly looked at Han Sen more eagerly. Han Sen just thought that Dollar was so viral on the Skynet, so most people should have heard of him. When did you come to Dark Swamp? Han Sen looked at Lu Weinan and asked. Lu Weinan became very enthusiastic and told Han Sen everything he knew. Han Sen finally knew why Lu Weinan had not heard about Dollar. This young man had never teleported back since he entered God's sanctuary a year ago. It looked like he had done pretty well for himself too. Han Sen looked at Lu, surprised. He could not believe that Lu Weinan would be so capable. Lu Weinan knew what Han Sen was thinking from his looks. He blushed and quickly said, we the Lus specialize in practicing body positions. There is no one that could compare with us in this field. Although I my humble self have no special capabilities, I would love to carry the torch. Since I entered God's sanctuary, I've been pushing my limits until I reach the threshold transcendence. Quote, be concise. Han Sen gave him a cold stare. Ahem, the truth is, we the Lus have great skills of escaping that were handed down in the family and we knew how to run from danger. Lu Weinan cleared his throat and said. Han Sen now remembered that Lu Weinan's body positions were strange indeed. If Lu Weinan hadn't fled into the sky using his bird mount and lost his advantages, Han Sen wasn't sure whether he was able to hurt Lu. For the month you have stayed in Dark Swamp, have you seen a forest where the trees are very tall but sparse, and under the trees there were flowers? Asked Han Sen. Lu Weinan thought about it and then shook his head, I have not seen such a place. I don't think there are tall trees in Dark Swamp. Not knowing if Lu Weinan had told the truth, Han Sen did not ask again. He rested for a while, and hit the road again with Lu after dawn. Lu Weinan's wounds on the butts had not recovered yet. Luckily, he had a flying mount, so he was fine. Every time when it was time to eat, Lu Weinan would stare at Han Sen feeding Meowth with dried fish piece after piece and sigh secretly, feeling himself inferior to a cat. Maybe luck had finally come. At the end of the day, when Lu was complaining that they hadn't seen a single mutant creature the whole day, Han Sen spotted a black hornet the size of a fist in the grass. Black stinger. Han Sen was surprised and quickly made a gesture to Lu Weinan to remain silent and watch the hornet from here. Watch the poisonous hornet, do not disturb it, and do not let it leave your sight. Han Sen said and flew into the sky to look around, as it was often foggy in Dark Swamp. He saw no tall trees or hornet nests in 20 miles. It seems that the black stinger's nest is not near. Follow it and we may be able to find its nest, thought Han Sen as he flew to Lu Weinan's side and gestured him to quietly follow the black stinger. Lu Weinan guessed what Han Sen wanted to do, and the two silently followed the black stinger. Fortunately, they could both fly, so it wasn't so hard to keep up with the black stinger. Following the black stinger, they flew dozens of miles, and started to see more and more black stingers. Before long, Han Sen suddenly saw a huge tree standing in the swamp. Under its canopy hung a huge black hornet nest the size of a hot air balloon.